want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. That is right. Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you right here on your home for healthy masculinity.
Hey, you know why I'm looking over here on my other screen over here? You want to know why?
Being rude? Look,
No, man. I mean, besides being rude, I am rude, but besides that, I'm hitting share, man. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
This month, only for this month, we're gonna allow everybody to share for free. There's no charge to share this month. You can share for free, man. And so it's a little bit distracting though, because then I got us like in the corner of my eye over here.
Mm-hmm.
I get distracted easily by shiny objects.
Yeah, well, we knew that about you. We were like, squirrel, like, come back, be over here.
You know what I'm saying? Focus. Hey man, as we film this, it is the last couple of days of 2023.
That is correct.
This is a time of year where a lot of people kind of reflect on a lot of things. A lot of people look forward. A lot of people look back on the year. You got the whole year-end recap of stuff, and a lot of companies try to do like performance reviews and all this other kind of stuff. Then at the same time, people start looking at, okay, the next year's budget or the next year's to-do list or goals and all this other kind of stuff, man. And it just kind of had me thinking, man, as we get into our short form here. We're only on here for a few minutes when we come at folks here mid in week, but it had me thinking, man, that in at least every way that I can think about, the end of something is also the beginning of something else. And so we have a lot of opportunities in life to really reflect on. When something comes to the end of the road for something is normally the beginning of a journey for something else, man. And I think this time of year is just kind of one aspect of how we experience the fact that, man, there's a lot of ways we can say goodbye, but one of the ways that we can say goodbye is to say hello to something else.
Yeah. I was thinking about it kind of while I was working today. It was like, every end is beginning. You think about, when you were born, that's the end of, it's like, that's the end of one existence, one incarnation, if you will, and then the beginning of another. You go through the phases of schooling. You're a baby, a toddler, a child, adolescent, and then, young adults, etc. And I think it's kind of incumbent upon us in some ways to set these milestones, have ceremony, because we've done so many talks about young men today not having a rite of passage and have that delineation between the ending of childhood and the beginning of manhood. For us, I think it's really incumbent to have this delineation. And I know sometimes it's kind of funny because you're like, well, time doesn't exist, it's a construct and we're just making it up as we go along. Well, yeah, but there are phases in life, there's phases in everything we do, and so having some sort of celebration, so like ending an old year and then starting a new year. So we end one thing and begin the other, which is interesting because you can already see people starting to head to the gym. You can already see that stuff starting to kind of kick off. People are like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start early. I'm gonna go ahead and get after it. And it's more a matter, I think, and for a lot of us, it's not so much what we want to start, but how we keep it going. And like you were saying, looking at, well, this is the end of that and the beginning of the new thing. What are we going to create in this new thing, and how do we keep it going? Because we all know the statistics, like the gym's packed for the first week of January, and then by the third week it's back to the same regular people because they're, what is it, the New Year's resolution curse or whatever. So whatever it is you want to create new, whatever it is you're ending, how do you make this a longevity, something that's going to be sustainable in the future?
Yeah, a lot of time, and you're right about the gym thing, man. I was driving by a Planet Fitness the other day, man. The parking lot was jam packed. I was like, man, folks trying to hurry up and get sexy for next week, man. I don't know what that is, but you know. But in any case, when we do find ourselves at the opportunity, and I mean, there's several different ways you can kind of look at this whole idea, but we find ourselves at the end of something, we can look at it as a loss, or we could look at it as an opportunity, maybe, for the next thing, and whatever that is. I know I've been in situations where I've gotten, let's say, laid off from a job or something like that, or maybe it was the end of a relationship. I've had experience, man, where end of a relationship was absolutely devastating to me. I mean, where, I was weeping sitting on the side of my bed. But then, I look back and I'm like, man, that was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me, man, because that opened the door for something new that I never would have even imagined before. And so a lot of times we find ourselves at the end, maybe somebody lost a relative this year, or had some kind of loss over this past year, and and it's easy to get stuck and dwell on, and I'm not trying to minimize loss. I mean, loss is important. You got to go through the stages of grief and process the loss and all those other kind of things. But I think in processing the loss, maybe part of processing the loss is realizing that, that there's a potential beginning that can come with that, even if that beginning is something new and something unknown, which may be unfamiliar, which may be even scary. But at the same time, in that unknown, could be something great.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think one of the things that, especially in our society in the West, we don't really embrace is the grieving process, and I think it's something we need to make more of the norm because there should be some amount of grieving for every little end and beginning. I mean, because I mean, even if you're leaving an old job for a better job, you're going to miss those people. That's you're changing things. Even if you're going from single to married, you'll miss some part of being single or your quote unquote freedom or whatever. But then how much better is it going to be when you have this new relationship and this companionship and partnership? But a lot of us don't give ourselves the grace of grieving or mourning what we've lost. I mean, sometimes I think part of the ceremony that we need to add into our lives for new, each ending and new beginning is that kind of delineation of, okay, I'm allowed to mourn this ending. Even when you're going, I mean, as we grow up, you're going from elementary school to middle school to high school, there's a bit of mourning and then anticipation and fear going into the new thing, but are we giving ourselves the grace and allowance to go, okay, I need to allow myself to mourn and grieve this ending because it is an ending. Something is dying so that something else can be reborn, so that I can maybe clean the slate moving forward. I think a lot of times we don't clean the slate because we don't either mourn, we don't heal, we don't do the steps we need to clean from the last thing, whether it's a relationship, a job, moving, something like that, to make a cleaner break and a clean start with the new thing. So sometimes I think not allowing ourselves to mourn, to grieve, to clean the slate from the ending hinders our new beginning sometimes because we carry that baggage and that luggage with us.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like over the last year, and looking back, 365 days ago, I've there have been several people who've passed on in my life, important people, and a year ago, some of them I had a feeling to be coming, in this year, and some of them I didn't. But either way, kind of found myself in that mourning process multiple times in 2023, and even when you look at the word mourning, it's kind of ironic, whatever you want to call it, that there's one morning that is the sadness, but then there's another morning that is the beginning. And when we wake up every day, we say good morning to each other, and it's an oxymoron when it's good morning with a U in it, right? But maybe a good morning is with a you in it is to realize that you're in it, and the you that's in that morning, can sit in it and be present in it, but then also realize that, that there could be something good, there could be a new beginning, another morning without the you, metaphorically and literally in the word. That could be a great thing, that could be something that that is a positive that ends up being in your life.
Yeah, it always reminds me of, and I love the movie, with Will Smith, the Collateral Beauty, because it touches on a lot of those things about when you allow yourself to mourn, when you allow yourself to dig deep, because you see him like in that movie, he's resisting it for all these years, like it destroyed his marriage, like he can't move on because he's in resistance to that mourning and to opening back up and not seeing the beauty. And I know in my experience, losing relationships, and when I allowed myself to really sink into the heartbreak, really sink into that pain, there was this beautiful moment of like, I don't know, grace or connection to God or whatever it was, but it was like by allowing myself in this moment, that present moment to be like, okay, I'm heartbroken. I'm feeling this pain and sink into it almost like a hot tub. Like, it's really intense, but then the more I sunk into it, the more allowed it, the more it felt like I felt the love, and it was really highlighting all the love and all the things that were a part of my life. And I think when we don't allow ourselves to embrace the ending and we don't allow ourselves to do the mourning with the you, even if it's just a small thing, sometimes it doesn't clean the slate, it doesn't give us a clearer picture for the next thing, the new beginning. Plus, we miss the collateral beauty. You miss what that lesson is when we don't allow ourselves to go through that, when we don't allow ourselves to mourn or to grieve or to actually have a ceremony on an ending. I think sometimes we don't have a clear cut ending in new beginning because we don't create a ceremony, we don't create a ritual or something around it saying, here's the delineation. Now I'm going from this thing to this thing. That's why like the marriage ceremony is so huge. And you know, all these other different ceremonies, the New Year ceremony, the spring solstice or equinox or whatever it is, like all these different little milestones just shows us that we're moving into these different phases of life, different phases of the year. But if we don't allow ourselves to be present in those moments, then we miss all the love and the beauty that could be coming up for us because we're too busy stuffing or ignoring or distracting ourselves with social media and TV and drugs and alcohol and everything else that is just meant to keep us out of the present moment and out of actually being in our heart space and feeling. I think this new year coming up is going to be a huge push to get more of us in our heart space, more of us being present, more of us taking the time because there's been so much distraction, so much craziness going on that a lot of us are just gonna get pushed into. I need to minimize, clean the cobwebs and all the other distractions out and start being more present with myself and my family and those closest to me because of all the craziness going on out in the world.
I don't mean to minimize personally. I don't mean to minimize, and I think the thing that brought this to mind in terms of a topic is because I don't know that we always do a great job during the holiday season to acknowledge that sometimes the holiday season is difficult for a lot of people. And I had a conversation with my mom who talked about how she has a lot of tough days during this holiday season. This is the first holiday season ever in her life without her mom, without my granny who passed away this last year. And so we don't do a really good job, I think, at acknowledging that. Not that we need to be a buzzkill with the holiday season, but we need to recognize that these are the things that some people do go through during this time of year. And then when that clock strikes 12 on New Year's, we sing Old Lang Syne, and it's all acquaintance be forgotten, all the other whatever the words are. Most people don't know the words. Be cheerful, be honest. But either way, the point of the song is about being optimistic and moving along to the next year and stuff. And so we got to recognize that people do go through these kind of things, but at the same time, there is opportunity in that. It's a tough opportunity, and some of the best opportunities are the toughest opportunities out there. The sometimes the biggest obstacles, have the greatest promised land on the other side. And so we got to recognize that that's a very real thing for a lot of people. And like I said, I can think of two, three people off the top of my head that are having this first holiday season, this first New Year's without a spouse. And so these are the kind of things that exist amongst the people around us, and so we just need to honor that, and then also acknowledge that, that when we do experience that, man, and when we do experience that in our personal lives and as well as lives of the people around us, that, man, it's also an opportunity for us to turn the page and learn a new normal. Because life is like that. Life is a continual cycle of, ends and beginnings, the ends and the beginnings, and time is like that, and just our days are like that, our lives are like that, our relationships are like that. Every marriage is going to end. Every single one, every single marriage that's ever been has ended in one way or another. Every single person, has died. I mean, and so, one day, and hopefully it ain't. Hopefully we'll be having a conversation this day next year. But for all of us, man, we got to recognize that, that, man, that there's an end coming for all of us, but there's also and several endings coming for all of us in different ways. But there are also some beginnings that come along with those.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I mean I'm one of those. Like the holidays for most of my life, once I left the childhood realm and got out on my own as a single adult, the holidays were always difficult because it's so family oriented. And when you're out on your own and you're single, there's just this kind of weight to it. Like I just got to get through this. And so I actually kind of bonded with my neighbor because we were both like, "Yep, just getting through it." Just trying to make it through it. And so I love the fact that we do Friendsgiving. I love the fact that we, get together on over the holidays. And I always would like to encourage those of you that have friends that are single, those of you that know that they don't have a spouse or a girlfriend, or maybe they don't have a family to go visit, or maybe they can't, to reach out to them. And maybe even you single folks start making a connection with those that are on the same page. They're single, they don't have family, and then help each other get through it by connecting. You might find some great connections during the holiday season with those other people who are just struggling because it's such a family centered, family oriented holiday and time of year that when you don't have that, it's hard not to kind of feel a certain kind of way, like, feel less than or down on yourself or depressed because you see all of this family goodness, all the families around the tree and the table and around the fireplace and all this stuff, but you don't see all the people who may be struggling on their own, being isolated, being by themselves. And then because it is such a family oriented season, they tend to isolate even more because, I don't want to bother somebody else. I don't want to be a burden to somebody else. I don't want to bother my friends. So sometimes it would be a good idea if you love somebody that doesn't have a family to reach out to them and just say, "Hey, how are you doing? Would you like to come hang out for a bit?" Because those little bits, it doesn't have to be like you got to board them for the whole holiday season, Thanksgiving through New Year's. But I mean, just have them over for Thanksgiving, have them over for a little lunch on Christmas, something like that, where they feel like they're a part of something. They feel loved and they feel appreciated because we lose a lot of people during the holiday seasons, and they may put it up to it getting darker and there not being as much sun and all that stuff. But I think a lot of it really is how the holiday is kind of portrayed as a family holiday. And when you don't have family, it can be really hard. And a lot of people get depressed and maybe remove themselves. So I'm calling out to all y'all, just reach out. Even if you're single and don't have family, maybe create a holiday friends group of single people and just support each other, because one of the things that's coming up, and we keep talking about, we as men need to come together, we as people, men and women, need to come together, single, family, whatnot, and start supporting each other in a new, open-hearted, loving way, because all this divisiveness is just taking us down the drain.
Yeah. Not only is it a family centric time of year, but it's also it can be a relationship centric time of year too. This is kind of the beginning of cuffing season,
Hmm.
where a lot of people get engaged and a lot of people, doing date nights and this and that. And it's a real heavy relationship kind of a season. And so, there's that factor into it. I want to pivot and look at this from a different direction. And that is the end of something being the beginning of something else. If you are universal, if we're in a place where we want something different, where we're ready to turn the page, where we're ready for a new chapter in life, we're ready for a step into a new direction, whether it's a step into a relationship or step into a career, step into finances, step into health, whatever you want to call it. you know when we are ready to make that step, to make that move, we got to be willing to let go of the past. We got to be, you can't turn the page until you let go of the page. I mean, you pick the page up and you turn it. If you don't let go of that page, you're really still stuck in the last chapter. And so a lot of us, we want our health to get better, but we don't want to let go of the habits that got us to where we are. We want our relationships to get better, but we don't want to let go of the habits that got us in a terrible relationship. And so, you also have to be willing to let go of the garbage from your past. You got to be willing to let go of the junk that's in your trunk if you want to move to whatever the next level is that you consider in your life. And so, a lot of people complain about their lives, but they don't do anything to actually change it, and or they sabotage the potential change that they could have because they're unwilling to let go of that thing that got them to this unhappy place that wants them to move to some other place, to move to another level, to move out of where they are. So you got to be willing to let go of last year, if you want next year to be better in some kind of way.
Yeah, if you want things in your life to change, you have to change things in your life. And you gotta allow the old things to die, do a ceremony, do a ritual, and draw that line in the sand and be like, no more, I'm moving forward. And do yourself a favor, make it sustainable. One of the reasons this whole I was joking about the gym thing and the New Year's resolutions because people try to make such a drastic change. You got to make small changes, small incremental changes. I mean, you only 1 degree off on a flight from over the ocean will take you thousands of miles out of the way. So you just make those small incremental changes, and as they build up, you'll see the big changes you want. But so many of us are like, "All right, I'm committed now," and then you try to change it all at once, and it's not sustainable. And that's why so many people they go to the gym for the first week, they get sore because they overdid it, and they don't have a plan that's sustainable, and then they fail or they feel like they fail. So don't overdo it. Make small changes, but make them sustainable. And as you make small, sustainable changes, you'll see everything start to shift. The biggest change you need to make, and we just did the episode, is the voice inside your head. Change the belief system because it's the belief systems creating the world that you experience. We've done so many talks about, everything, nothing means anything until somebody gives it meaning, until you decide it means something. And that's why everybody has a different opinion about every little thing on earth. So if you have a negative opinion of things or a negative opinion of yourself or the world or whatnot, start by shifting that to a more, maybe use a little gratitude, a little appreciation, maybe just start changing the voice and the inner dialogue you have. Changing our belief system changes everything. And that's one small thing you can do, but you've had that old belief system for so long that's going to take you some time. And like I like to call it the 12-step two-step. I'm going to make this change, and then you take a step forward, then you take 2 steps back. And it's really those 2 steps back are the more important part because they reinforce the old belief system or the awareness of the old belief system so that you can change it for like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But it's kind of how we change it. There's 2 ways to change it, gradually or traumatically. And we've seen this over and over again. Sometimes people they have a car accident, they have a heart attack, and they change overnight. But for most of us, it's a gradual change. And so you got to know that's going to be a back and forth. But each time you step back, don't beat yourself up. Realize that's reinforcing. You're becoming more and more aware. And at some point, you're going to see yourself, oh, I'm about to do it again. I'm going to stop here before you do it. And that's really when you have made the inroads and you've made the progress that you need to really change that belief system and change that habit that you have. When we change the habit that way and we can see it coming and stop ourselves, now we're in control. And then we can do that with every other little belief system and change every little thing in our life to the way we want it to be, not the way we feel like we're stuck with it.
For somebody, this means you need to burn a letter or a card from somebody else. For somebody, this means you need to get rid of that momentum, that gift that somebody gave you. For somebody, this means you need to get into a doctor's office and go for a physical. For somebody, that means you need to go talk to somebody for some credit repair. Somebody, maybe you need to, go talk to somebody about, about how to get your finances in order. I don't know, whatever it is for whomever. That thing that you have in your life that you want to be better. Ideally, most of us want, using the calendar as an example, most of us want the next year to be better than this particular year. A lot of things we don't control, can't control. 4 years ago, none of us had any idea what was coming in 2020. I mean, it was, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are in our control. If you go back and look at these conversations that we've been having over the past however many years, if you scroll back several years, both of us look totally different. I mean, man, your face looks totally. I mean, in a bad. I mean, your face was this big in a lot of those things, and now you've gotten better health wise and in shape. I think relationally, I was just in a garbage place, and and so there's a lot of things that we need to realize that we have control over, and sometimes that means getting into somebody, hell. Speaking of our people, go check out Castle Rock Men's Health, in
Mhm.
Parker and Castle Rock. Go holler at him. Go holler at Dr. Lee and all those guys down there, and just find out, like, how's my body doing? How are my hormone levels? I mean, whatever that might be. Like I said, maybe it's talking with a tax professional. Maybe it's talking with a real estate professional. Maybe it's talking with whatever it is. But maybe there's something that you can do to start to begin to turn that page. But at the end of it, a lot of it comes down to how am I going to let go of that thing that I need to let go of from last year to have that be the end so that I can experience the beginning of something else. For somebody, that means I need to get over this addiction that I have. I mean, you keep going around the same mountain when you have the same trail that you're following. And addiction is nothing but a trail around a miserable mountain. And so, whatever that looks like, man, in order to have the beginning of something, you got to be willing to let go of something else.
Yeah, and get help.
Yeah.
Quit trying to white knuckle it and do it all yourself. I mean, that's why there are professionals out there. Make your life easier. I mean, I used to teach snowboarding, and we would joke about the guys that just try to teach themselves. And I actually was one of those. I taught myself until I moved to the mountain and wanted to teach. And they're like, "Oh, okay, hang on a second. Let's reteach you how to do this correctly," which actually made me a better instructor because I learned how to do it while they're teaching me how to teach it. But I needed help. And if you're just out there white knuckling it and you don't know what you don't know, then having somebody, a mentor, a counselor, a professional to help you out is going to save you so much time and help you get to where your goals are much faster and much easier. But when you're trying to white knuckle it, do it all yourself, and a lot of us guys are really guilty of this because it's always get up by your bootstraps, suck it up, be a man, and don't ask for help because don't look weak. But what you're doing is just making it harder for yourself, and then you tend to fall back. You tend to get more depressed and more anxious and have more stress because you feel like you can't do this. You feel like I know I need to do it, but I can't do it. You haven't asked for help. You got to ask for help, and it may take you a couple times. You work with different people till you find the right one for you, but ask for help and make sure that this end that you want to make to create this new beginning has a stable foundation, is built on something solid, and that's going to take help. It's going to take some other professional to come in and help and work with you. And if you are struggling and want to know if you're really committed, if you aren't asking for help, you're not really committed. You're really just
Yeah.
doing the same thing. You're just talking in your head, and you need to get help.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. If you're not getting help with whatever it is, then you're right. It's all just lip service. And when I can tell the guy that ends up calling me and having that conversation about this problem that he has and his marriage falling apart, and he can't stop watching people have sex online and all that kind of stuff, and he goes into all the deep remorse and this and that, blah 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 blah. And then he turns around and he goes, "Yeah, but I got it. I got this book that somebody gave me, and I'm gonna read this book," and I'm like, whatever, dude. I mean, bye,
Okay.
Felicia. Yeah, whatever, man. I
Let
mean,
me know how that
yeah, and then
works.
that's it. That same guy will be calling me back when his wife finally leaves him. When he could have done something about it. So yeah, so guys, we definitely need to be better at that, man. We definitely need to be better. So yeah, man, I think my home stretch is just that, man. I think we got to recognize if there's a lot of things that you've lost over this past year, over this past part of life, and you've experienced some bad things, recognizing that okay, that end of the road, that Boys to Men speaks about may not necessarily be a bad thing. And even in there, they said, I mean, we got to let go. We got to let go of that thing to move on to whatever the next thing is in our life, man.
Yeah, I'll end it this way. we all have endings, we all have beginnings, and if you're struggling with new beginnings because you're still holding on to the past, you're still holding on to all those endings and all, you haven't delved into it, and that's where the help comes in. You need to make sure you feel your way through it. If you're carrying around all this luggage and you're still feel trapped, it's because you have all this weight on your shoulders and you're not willing to go into that pain. You're not willing to feel that mourning and that grief. Until you do that, which for most of us guys, especially in our middle years, 40s, 50s, like that, we've got so much luggage, we don't know where to begin. So having some help and having somebody guide you through that, and just one thing at a time, make it sustainable. Don't try to, burn the whole house down while you're, trying to deal with this one thing. Just one thing at a time, and then it will start to speed up and expedite, and then before you know it, you'll be where you want to be. But you got to deal with the past first. And that's where the ending becomes the new beginning. And until next time, we love you. Reach out to us, like and subscribe. And if you're struggling, reach out to your boys. Both he and I can help you out in so many ways. And if we can't help you, we probably know somebody who can. So our websites are right there, madmenradio.com. And I hope you have a happy new year and a brand new beginning for next year.
Boom.
Peace.
Mad Men out.